one day God had got this feeling that why I have to be in charge of all this universe, people, land, nature. Why don't I leave this power away, get rid of it, and just live in the open air like wind, like plant, like sand, like stone? And then God decided to leave and to run out of his power and to go to nature. After a long evening of thought, God has started to think, where shall I hide my power? God had have decided to put his power on the rock. How come you put it in such a beautiful rock? Don't you think of people like Nabatean crazy? They come, they see this place is so beautiful, and they decide to carve the palace for the king or the tomb for the queen. God decides to give up the project and went back to heaven. Why don't I go and give myself another chance? God has decided to put his power in earth and fall asleep. Again, he could not. Was so annoyed by so many ideas across his mind, having in mind a fight. And again, God has decided to cancel and to get over all these feelings, all what we can do. And I got a thought that this power, the God's power, which had been handed over to us when we were born, it was given for the sake of being good to keep the balance, and there is always a fight between the good and the bad. And my thought and my feeling that the power of God will support and will keep this world for all of us and for a lot more generations to come and to enjoy, and we all wish and say Amen.
This was the first time I'd ever been on location in the desert. In the course of making this film, I met a wonderful man who introduced me to an amazing country and its lovely people. He showed me that this country is different. This is a beautiful kingdom that radiates peace and serenity, full of natural and historical sights that are a must-see for everyone. If you have not spent time with the Bedouins in the desert, you don't know about living free. Thank you, my true friend, Nyazi. Good morning, Jordan. Two million of Jordan's 5 million inhabitants live in Amman, which became the capital of the country in 1946 and a royal seat. This is where the still highly respected King Hussein ibn Talal ruled, and his son Abdullah II governs his people. The city is mentioned by the Bible as the capital of the Ammonites. Rabbah, the city of Amman, was protected by over 24 watchtowers. Their remains are still visible, outlining the size of the one-time settlement. Here, just like in any city with a history of millennia, historical monuments mix with the colorful and busy activities of modern life. With its mosques and bazaars, Amman is a truly exciting eastern metropolis. Our little team started out from here to get acquainted with one of the cradles of civilization, Jordan. Many might be wary of traveling here, because they don't know exactly what conditions await them here. You can find 3, 4, or 5-star hotels all over the country, which provide high-quality service appropriate for the category. They're meticulously clean, and their luxurious restaurants offer sophisticated European dishes. True, if you want to taste the flavors of the Middle East, you have to delve deeper into the hustle and bustle of the bazaars and try kebab and hummus at a street food stand. It's safe to do that because both the levels of hygiene and public safety are better than most would expect. The city of Jerash, about 50 kilometers from the capital, is a real place of pilgrimage for those interested in the past and archaeology. This Roman city lying in the mountains of Gilead has remained in incredibly good condition. Due to its geographical location, Jerash was not only a meeting point of Eastern and Western cultures, but also an important center of commerce. This was where the nomad peoples and rich kingdoms of the Middle East traded goods with the Roman Empire. The architecture of this Roman city features not only the most beautiful elements of ancient Greek art, but it's also embellished by Oriental motifs, thereby creating a unique atmosphere. Hadrian's Arch is located about 400 meters from the edge of the city. This indicates that urban developers may have intended to further expand the city when the big earthquake of the year 747 buried Jerash along with many other cities in the Holy Land. For centuries it was questioned whether it really existed or whether it was only the product of the colorful imagination of certain historians. Then, in 1806, it was proven that Jerash, just like the Palace of Knossos and the city of Troy, very much existed. But that required an archaeologist as obsessed with his quest as Howard Carter, Arthur Evans, or Heinrich Schliemann. Jerash was discovered and excavated by German archaeologist Ulrich Sietzen. At places, he had to remove 4 to 5 meter thick layers of mud and sand that covered and thus protected the antique structures. The unusual oval shape of the forum, measuring a colossal 90 by 80 meters, may have been influenced by Arabian architectural traditions. The main road, made of huge blocks of stone and lined by a colonnade, is no less imposing than the Via Appia Antica. The road network of the city had drainage in true Roman fashion. The usual nicely carved fountains and the market square, the agora, were duly there too. The city had 3 theaters and many temples. The main attraction of the archaeological site of Jerash is that, contrary to many other excavations that look like showrooms of ancient column factories, here every column, stone, and gate stands in its original place, thereby allowing us to imagine the life and operation of the antique city. In later ages, the city became populated by Islamic Umayyads, Byzantine Christians who added a few buildings of their own to it. Thus, here you can find a mosque whose tabernacle was created from an ornamented alcove of a Roman house, or a synagogue where the floor is decorated by 2 layers of wonderful mosaics on top of each other. The archaeological excavation is still ongoing at the site. According to Roman traditions, the city was designed along the Cardo Maximus, the axis of a road running in a north-south direction, crossed by 2 perpendicular main roads. The city was surrounded by fortified walls. Another usual feature is the Hippodrome, which had a seating capacity of 15,000 and was a venue to many athletic competitions and chariot races that are so well known from Ben-Hur. The Jerash facility spanned over 240 meters. A small river ran through the city that, of course, had aqueducts and public baths as well. The gorgeous Fountain of the Nymphs dates back to 191 AD and is a testament to the artistic skills of the stonecutter. The water in the marble-covered 2-story shrine flowed down to a granite basin. Many facades and the acanthus scrollwork are just being restored. The reconstruction of one of the theaters is complete by now. The South Theatre of Jerash boasts 3,000 numbered seats. This imposing structure, which has excellent acoustics, has been restored to be as it was 2,000 years ago. Once, it was a venue of ritual and religious ceremonies, allegedly with the assistance of naked dancers. Well, we're several centuries late for that show. But there is something you can see in our age. This is the place of the annual Jerash Art Festival. Jordan, being part of the Holy Land, boasts many sites of biblical importance. According to the Old Testament, God showed Moses Canaan, the Promised Land, from Mount Nebo. This is where Moses is believed to have died and was buried. Later, a church was raised above the assumed gravesite on top of the mountain. Strange as it may sound, this rolling rock used to serve as a gate once. Mount Nebo is visited by crowds of pilgrims and tourists. The Byzantine-style basilica features beautiful mosaics made by the masters of the Madaba mosaic school, who also created the map of 2.3 million mosaic pieces depicting the Holy Land. From the 800-meter-high Mount Nebo, you can see all the way to the Judean mountains in clear weather. With a good pair of binoculars, you can even view Jerusalem or Bethlehem as well. Due to climate changes, the land once flowing with milk and honey has become a desert by now. The Book of Creation already makes a mention of the lukewarm, sulfuric thermal water of the river Ain Ez-Zara. Allegedly, Herod the Great also came here to treat his rheumatism. Today, thousands of locals and tourists come here to bathe, so a hotel was built for them in the valley. Our team reached the valley at sunset, tired after the many sights of Jerash and Mount Nebo. But the night swim was an unforgettable experience. It's a special sight and experience to see how the gushing thermal water, broken by the rocks, falls into the depths, and in the natural caves we can stand underneath it to let it massage and rub our bodies. No sophisticatedly designed pool of any aquapark can match this natural waterfall. The romantic canyon of Wadi Zarka carries away the thermal waters of the Ain ez-Zara and the Zarku Malu from the Hammamat Wellness Hotel to the Dead Sea 8 kilometers away. Wadi means riverbed in Arabic. Walking through the rocky, wet canyon of Wadi Zarka all the way to the Dead Sea and treading in the strong currents of the thermal waters that are alternately ankle deep or up to your neck could be an experience of a lifetime, not only for fans of hiking and water walking, but for any tourist with an athletic bent. The rocks and the gorges form natural water slides at places, and you can only cross the differences in terrain level by climbing a rope or a rope ladder, all the while continuously pounded by the gushing water, and sometimes you have to jump from one rock to another like a mountain goat. We went through with it, and can unanimously say that it was a wonderful experience that would be a pity to miss. But make sure you have proper shoes, plenty of drinking water, and waterproof bags. The hotel or the travel agency can provide a local guide. Believe us, it would be a mistake to go without them. After a hike like this, it's a great feeling to catch a glimpse of the Dead Sea, and although the thick salty water stung our fresh bruises received courtesy of the canyon rocks, it was an excellent feeling to float in the lukewarm and almost oil-thick water of the Dead Sea. You can float in it for hours without a mattress, steering yourself with only an occasional lazy stroke of an arm. This isn't the only place where you can enjoy the beneficial effects of the water and the mud of the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea cosmetics are available in many drugstores all over the world. Of course, since you're here, make sure you cover up in the genuine, original black mud and have fun at your companion's silly appearance. Oh, and make sure you have a photo of yourself floating in the Dead Sea, covered with mud, with a newspaper in your hand. The Dead Sea is over 400 meters below sea level, and thus it's the lowest point on the Earth's surface. You may not know, but due to its special location, it gets substantially less harmful rays of the sun than other shores. Here you'll find mostly upscale hotels and apartment complexes, and among them this truly unique place that consists of little cottages featuring the motifs of Arabian architecture. Along the flowing little stream, through arched gates and winding alleys, lead to the pool that melts into the endless infinity of the sea. An arched stairway reminiscent of an ancient amphitheater was built to admire the sunset from. The setting looks like a page from the Arabian Nights, except the wishes of the guests are granted not by genies, but by the always obliging staff. Along the road from the Dead Sea to Petra lies the Dana National Park. It's a favorite among ornithologists and bird lovers who come here to watch the over 200 species that have their habitat here. Protected mammals live among the poorly vegetated hills. We could only meet a porcupine who enthusiastically scratched the sides of our tents, although many small rodents, desert foxes, squirrels, and rabbit species live here, along with a number of lizards. But according to our hosts, no scorpions or snakes live here. It's amazing how easily we can adapt to the semi-savage conditions of a Bedouin tent camp, despite being civilized Western city dwellers. Although as tourists, we do get some allowances, such as the water facilities under the stone domes and clean water closets and cold showers. In the morning, a 20-centimeter long stick insect stood at the door. Maybe it was waiting for its turn to take a shower. Of course, our last program for the evening was drinking some steaming herbal tea at the campfire together.
Is this Hungarian embassy? Yes, I want to change it. Did you manage to say France was good? I think they will be surprised. Ha! Ha! More tea? We took in Hungary.
Not far from Dana National Park lies the village of Dana. famous not only for its breathtaking view, but also for being a kind of craft village. The adobe and stone blockhouses of the village almost vanish in the clay-colored mountains. Even when you get closer, only the thickest tower of the minaret indicates that you have reached the settlement. At the Visitors Center, you're greeted by a welcome drink, which is of course alcohol-free in accordance with the customs of Islam. You can buy local spices and tea in the shops, and also small pieces of jewelry decorated by the silhouette of local animals. The view that opens up before your eyes is colored by the shadow play of the clouds. Our drivers would like to spend the time while they're waiting by reading the paper, but realize they can't speak Hungarian, so they end up looking at the pictures. Before you get the idea that the stone heaps you see everywhere are tombs or other monuments, let me tell you, they mark private ownership of the land. The peculiar rock formations stretch out all the way to the horizon. You can't see exactly where the border is, but those faraway mountains already belong to Israel. Jordan is a 90,000 square kilometer little country, wedged among Israel, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Syria. Although it's not independent geographically, politically it is, and it can't be emphasized enough that it's a safe little island of peace in the volatile and conflict-laden world of the Middle East. This is mainly owing to the late King Hussein, who died in 1999, and the prevailing king, who, guided by smart diplomatic sense, stayed out of the conflicts of the surrounding countries. And let's not forget about the peace-loving people of Jordan, since their mentality is the guarantee that their country will continue along this road in the future as well. Jordan was able to develop into a modern place while keeping its traditions and respect for the past, and also prosper, partly due to tourism. It's important to know the people of Jordan do their best to ensure that a visit to their country is a pleasant experience for anybody. Their hospitality and open smile is inherent to their nature, which is only complemented by an obvious long-term business interest targeted at the further development of tourism. Let's face it, Jordan, being part of the Holy Land, with a plethora of religious sites and having a coast on both the Dead Sea and the Red Sea, could take the place of Israel in international tourism. All the more so because tourists are always after the exotic and new destinations waiting to be discovered.
Ciao! You take my car, I'm taking the donkey.
Sik al-Barid, sometimes called Little Petra, was the suburb and possibly business center of the Nabatean capital. While Petra was serving as the center of the cult of the ancestral dead, little Petra was ruled by life. The facades may not be as fancy, but they were not intended for eternity either. Today it's hard to tell about some of these caves, whether they were made by human hands or not. Bedouin families lived here as little as 20 years ago and like to come back even now during the day. Our host told us stories about local life and promised to show us the cave in Petra where he was born. Sikh al-Barid and Petra were closely connected once, and only got separated when the new quarter was built, because Petra naturally has a new city quarter. This is where the locals working in the tourism industry live, and where the hotels are. Petra offers 5 5-star, 3 4-star, and 4 3-star hotels for visitors. The excellent microclimate of the gorge, the shady rock walls, and the little stream that once flowed here provide ample explanation why the nomadic Nabateans chose this place to settle down. Bedouins drink tea instead of coffee and alcohol. They can make a fire and tea anywhere. We had to admit that even the sunset is incomplete without it. The terrace of the hotel gives an enticing view of Petra, so, in order to get on our way as soon as possible, we asked the master chef of the hotel to make breakfast for us, and he prepared a royal treat for everyone, according to their individual requests. The most impressive and mysterious city of Jordan is Petra. It was probably built in the 4th century BC. Built may not be a proper term for it. It was more created or shaped, since the city itself is a narrowing passage with buildings and facades carved into the yellow, pink, and red sandstone walls. So it's completely different from our idea of a city. There are researchers who dispute whether it was in fact a city or just a necropolis with temples, shrines, sacrificial altars, a theater built for sacral rituals, tombs built for civilians, and monumental sepulchres created for kings. If you look at the narrow, cubical chambers hidden behind the unbelievably gorgeous ornamental facades, you have to admit that these would have been more suitable for the needs of the dead than living, who need more space to move around. Despite that, researchers say that in its prime, Petra was a city of 30,000 inhabitants with a developed infrastructure. Our host showed us the cave apartment where he was born, on the walls of which you can still see the name inscription of the Nabatean family who lived here in the 4th century BC.
I was born in a cave in Petra, and I'm so pleased to be born and start and shout for the first time in the beautiful mountain rock, and to hear my echo still existing till nowadays. And I feel I am belong to this place, and the place belongs to me, and I do believe that there is a legend in these mountains and in this places and all that places those great people had passed through. And when you are here in Jordan, I do believe that you will get the same feeling and you will go back as a new person.
Between 1974 and 1980, the government evacuated the Bedouins who lived here by providing them with housing in the modern section of the city. Nyazi Shaba'an studied archaeology. Then he worked as a manager here at the Petra archaeological complex. Currently, he's the head of a family business managing a travel agency, and his main goal is to endear his beloved country to more and more foreigners. Some researchers question whether these rock structures were carved by the Nabateans, or if they just moved into the city that was already here. Looking at the architecture of the remaining buildings, the use of Hellenistic motifs instead of Oriental and Arabic decorations is prominent. The fusion of Mesopotamian, Egyptian, Persian, and Greco-Roman architectural elements created a unique Nabatean style. What we know about the Nabateans is that they were nomadic Arab tribes who crowned their sheikhs to kings. If you accept what scholars say, their religion did not require human sacrifices, although they regularly practiced animal sacrifices and had an advanced cult of the dead. The Nabateans appeared in the 5th century BC. Their kings had the names of Aretas, Obodas, Malchus, and Rabel. They made their living by patrolling caravan routes. Petra was a station on the so-called Incense Road, a caravan road that connected the Mediterranean with South Arabia. Incense was transported to Egypt for religious rituals, and myrrh was used for fumigation, perfumes, and medicine. Most people believe that the reasons for the fall of the Nabatean Empire were the redirection of commercial routes and the Roman conquest. Then the decaying city was finally cut off from the outside world by the earthquake of 747 AD, just like Jerash. Coming out of the narrow crevice, you'll see the most famous structure of Petra. It looks like a temple, and it's called a treasury, but it was used for burials. The legend about the treasures of the pharaoh being hidden here in Petra is just as improbable as the other one, claiming that this is where Moses brought water from the rock. The Bedouins denied even the city's existence to the armies that came here during the Crusades. They were successful in keeping it secret up until 1812. Petra was basically discovered twice by the world. In the said year, a young Swiss explorer of the Orient, Johann Ludwig Burckhardt, managed to get into this city by disguising himself as a Bedouin. Supported by the Sultan of Constantinople, he resumed 6 years later with a group of people including the painter William Banks. Yet the first beautiful public paintings were not made by him, but by a young French marquis, Léon de Laborde. Expeditions, drawings, and books about the city followed in quick succession. Among them, the Scottish Orientalist David Roberts deserves mention. After that, due to the world wars and other events, it was as if Petra had been lost again. Then, in 1989, it was not a scholar or an explorer who made it popular again, but George Lucas of Star Wars fame, who came here with Steven Spielberg to shoot the third movie of the Indiana Jones trilogy starring Harrison Ford. Moviegoers all over the world gasped when they learned that the gorgeous temple carved into the pink hillside is not the creation of set designers and visual FX masters, but a real-life monument. The flood of tourists has been unstoppable since then. There's no end to the books, articles, and explorers dealing with Petra. The busiest researcher of the city is American archaeologist Leanne Bedal, who publishes her discoveries in trade journals and on the internet. According to her, Petra was much bigger and richer than it has been assumed on the basis of findings. Next to the theatre, a pool of 43 by 25 meters was discovered that had a 10-meter tall pavilion richly embellished with red, orange, and blue stuccos on an artificial island in it. The water supply of the great pool, just like the other pools, came through an elaborate water distribution system from a cistern built on top of the mountain 6.5 kilometers away. The so-called outer Sikh, leading from the treasury to the theatre, is lined by a lot of tombs. That was Necropolis, the city of the dead. Above the 7,000-person theatre stand the obelisks of Disaris and Afangates, the two main gods of the Nabateans, and the sacrificial altar. The royal tombs have not remained in as good condition as the treasury. Due to their more exposed location, the rain and the wind began to wear away the sandstone, shaping truly interesting forms in it. The building called the monastery, nothing is what it's called in Petra, is really a temple with a 50-meter-high facade that was the venue of the festivals to honor the dead. The exit can be reached through the old main road, the Cardo Maximus, lined by Roman columns. This is the parking lot for the camels and donkeys advertised by their cheerful owners as air-conditioned cabs. The Gulf of Aqaba is bordered by 4 countries: Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, and Egypt. The city that the Gulf was named after is the most dynamically growing settlement of Jordan and a popular holiday resort. It combines the bustling, colorful life of the cities of the Middle East with the cosmopolitan look of beach resorts. The city was populated as early as the Bronze Age. It changed rulers and names many times. At one time or another, it was controlled by the Nabateans, the Romans, the Byzantines, the Crusaders, and the Turks, among others. Not far from the beach lies a medieval fortress which, just like the other castle ruins in Jordan, was probably built by the Crusaders, although this is yet to be proven by historians. Is it a coincidence that the Bible calls the city by the name Elath? It's separated from the Israeli Eilat beach resort by merely a few kilometer-long empty shore. The long-term development plans include a joint beach hotel complex, unless politics intervenes. Aqaba's 20-year urban development plan has large-scale improvements. With the aid of the Jordan Tourism Board and various investment groups, the local government plans to create a university of tourism, a dolphinarium, a new yacht harbor, a beach resort, golf courses, a huge mall in the style of a true Arab bazaar, a conference center, along with more hotels, baths, restaurants, and cinemas. Until then, you can still enjoy the clear water of the Red Sea and the hotels and beaches already there. And don't forget that the coral reef of Aqaba is a diver's paradise. The most popular souvenirs from Jordan, the small bottles filled with colored desert sand, are made by skilled artisans on the street as their buyers are watching how they work. We have had many adventures during our eventful journey through Jordan, but the real desert adventures were still ahead of us. Camping at the Wadi Rum, a camel ride in the desert, and a genuine jeep ride among the sand dunes. The soaring peaks and strange, magical-looking rock formations of the Wadi Rum capture the heart of every traveler. The beauty of the rock arches, vaults, and stone gates are reminiscent of the Grand Canyon. The color of the sand ranges from grayish-white through Sahara yellow to a deep, special red. And a note for Antonioni fans. This is the Red Desert here. The sight of the sunrise and sunset in the desert is amazing. And as night falls, what else would our Bedouin escorts do but set a campfire out of a few dried and withered bushes to make some good, strong tea? Our camp is in a hollow protected by rocks and with a fence towards the desert that we mainly only saw in movies about the region. The camp, just like the one in Dana, is well equipped. After breakfast, the camel drivers appear with their animals. Several of us would like to trade their extra large animals for a size small, or the other way around, but there's no time. The caravan is taking off. We leave the camp that resembles a legion fortress and ride our camels into the desert, following the track of great predecessors. Camels are interesting animals. Their two wide toes prevent them from sinking in the sand. Its hump is a reservoir of fat for times of famine, and they carry a scared tourist on their humps, squeezed between the two saddle horns. Our approach to camel riding may not be the best at first, but after 10 minutes we start to relax our stiff grip and carefully try to shift positions with our numb legs. Of course, there are people who can ride both jeeps and camels very well. Holding the reins, our friend Nyazi stands up on the back of the camel, reminding us of the horseback riding stunts of the Hungarian horseman, the Csíkos. Our little team may not remind you much of the heroes of movies like Sheikh or Tuareg, but we swear you can get used to camel riding, and you can even get to like these not overly beautiful animals. Many say that camels kick and even spit, but maybe they behave so badly only in front of visitors at the zoos. Our camels appeared to be definitely clean and friendly. And we instantly grew very fond of the white-haired camel calf. The camel handler explained to us that these animals have 2 rows of eyelashes and can even close their nostrils. They normally do that only in a sandstorm, but, fortunately, we did not get into any. As an old saying says, each word of the Arabic language means 3 things: the thing itself, its exact opposite, and some body part of the camel. So is it a wonder we did not learn more than 10 Arabic words during our journey? After going a long period without water, a camel can drink as much as 200 liters. We think that goes for the camel riders as well. After the break, we would have liked to continue our trip on camels, but the animals and their handlers said goodbye to us. But before they disappeared behind the dunes, we had, of course, some tea together, and the occasional choir of the camel drivers and our very musical drivers sung Arabic folk songs in our honor. These are most likely the experiences that make traveling so much fun. The little adventures are the spice of traveling. Of course, if you lost all sense of adventure, you can still go to Jordan and see the sights by an air-conditioned bus that takes you there from your 5-star hotel. As you like it, or as Lord Byron said, the rites that sanctify the pile. An off-road jeep ride is a similar adventure, but those who agree with the slogan, "The world starts where the concrete road ends," will enjoy the bumpy drive in their 4-wheel drives on the dunes, even if they have an occasional grain of sand between their chattering teeth. The desert is more full of life than we thought. We saw several camps and a few native villages, a kind of oasis. For the local children, the water reservoirs are just as good as the swimming pools of luxury hotels. This is where the Syria-Jordan Railway runs, along with the good quality road that crosses the desert. But there's another reason this sea of sand is more friendly than the Sahara. The landscape is more interesting, and the rocks provide shelter from the burning sun. Small bushes of alpha grass grow everywhere on the dunes. These dried little branches serve as firewood for the wanderers of the desert. The legendary British intelligence officer T.E. Lawrence, who became known as Lawrence of Arabia, is still held in great esteem as a hero among the Bedouins. A movie by the same title was made about his life in 1962, starring Peter O'Toole. Lawrence's character also appears in the Indiana Jones story, although not in the movies, but in the TV series. The English colonel wrote about the land that he had come to love in his book titled 7 Pillars of Wisdom, and his enthusiasm explains why the locals had grown so fond of him. The sun had sunk behind the western wall, leaving the pit in shadow, but its dying glare flooded with startling red the wings each side of the entry and the fiery bulk of the further wall across the great valley. The pit floor was of damp sand, darkly wooded with shrubs, while about the feet of all the cliffs lay boulders greater than houses, sometimes, indeed, like fortresses which had crashed down from the heights above. All of us gathered a last small souvenir, an interesting stone or a bottle of red sand, and we knew these were more valuable for us than those you can buy for money. Then, when after the glorious light show of the sunset, the black velvet night suddenly fell upon us, when you could distinguish each and every one of the thousands of stars that appear on the clear night sky, undisturbed by city lights, and when we sipped the hot herbal tea at the dying flames of the campfire, listening to the silence you can't hear anywhere else, yes, probably that was when we really realized what is the magic of the desert. We were sitting in the cooling sand and suddenly understood the Bedouins who wouldn't leave this place for the world, and we were already contemplating how much we would yearn for the sunlit sand and cliffs upon returning to our faraway homes.
I think Jordan is a colorful country. It is a very small country, but it has a lot to offer for people seeking nature, treatment, or religious visit places, or archaeologists. The whole country is an as open air museum. Within a very short time, you can see a lot and a lot. And in the top of that, it is the silence, nature, and beauty within people's self.